Hi, I'm Tim and thanks for watching this video. If you saw my previous video where I did an overview of the SMLight SLZB Ultima, which is their new release, well, in this follow-up video we're going to go through the web interface and I'm going to show you all the settings and options in there, and then after that I'll give you my honest opinion and the pros and also the cons of what I think this device has to offer. So let's get started. So here we are at the computer screen, and before we get into the web interface, what I've done is a simple spreadsheet as sort of a comparison, not a direct comparison of course, but hopefully this gives you an idea of the chips between some various models of SMLight coordinators. So here we've got the SLZB 06P7, and here we've got the SLZB MR3, and here we've got the SLZB Ultima3, which we're currently reviewing. So for the SLZB 06P7, it has a core chip of an ESP32S3, as does the SLZB MR3 and also the Ultima 3 as well. So they've all got the same core chip clock speed. Number of cores is 2. Core chip flash memory is all 16 megabytes. The core chip RAM is 520 kilobytes, but for the SLZB Ultima, it's 2.5 megabytes according to the information in the dashboard. Now, whether this is 100% correct, I'm not sure, but if you know any different, then please feel free to leave a comment against this video. So for radio 1, we've got the CC2652P7 in the 06P7 model. In the SLZB MR3, we've got the EFR32MG24, as we have with the Ultima 3. Now the chip speed for this is 48 MHz on the 06P7, 80 on both the MR3 and Ultima 3. Now they've all got one chip cores. For radio 1, the flash memory is 704 against 1024 kilobytes for the other two models. The RAM is 152 kilobytes for the 06P7 and 128 for both the MR3 and Ultima 3. Then of course with radio 2, we've only got one radio in the 06P7, so for this onwards we'll eliminate that model with it only having one radio. But for the SLZB MR3 and the Ultima, they both have the same CC2674P10, so all the specs for those are the same. And then for radio 3, now as the Ultima 3 has 3 radios in it, hence why we've got the radio 3, which is the EFR32ZG23, which is chip speed of 78 MHz, one chip core, 512 kilobytes of flash memory and 64 kilobytes of RAM. So hopefully that gives you an idea of the specs for the 3 models that I've done the selection on screen here for. So now we've taken a look at that, what we'll do is go to the web interface. For the SLZB Ultima 3, it looks pretty similar to the other models, which is good to see that they've standardized it. Now in the dashboard, of course, we've got the general status. So we've got ZigBee coordinator set on radio 1, radio 2. We've got the Ethernet connection mode. We've also got the 4G LTE add-on, which you saw in the previous video I installed. However, I don't have a SIM card for this at the moment, so I'm unable to test that. And then going across to the device information, we've got the radio 1, radio 2, and radio 3. So here you can see the specifications for those radios. Now I've updated it to the latest version of the SLZB OS, which is at the time of recording this video is 3.24, and the latest firmware versions for the ZigBee coordinator are also up to date. So going across to the left hand side, we have the mode option like we did with the others, and here you can set the radio 1, radio 2 and radio 3 for the different sorts of operation. So at the moment by default they're both set to ZigBee coordinators, but of course you can change one or both to matter over thread, ZigBee router, ZigBee hub and so on. Radio 3 is the Z-Wave, so that's set specifically for that add-on. So you can't change Radio 3 to be something else, as it's just for Z-Wave only. So scrolling down, you'll see that we've got all the other settings as standard. We've got ZigBee Hub mode, which you can set as you can with all the models, network settings, MQTT. So if you want to run this as MQTT, you can. But then, of course, we've got the 4G LTE add-on option. Now here, once you've got the SIM card installed, it should give you the signal strength, SIM card status, network type, and so on. Then moving down, we've got the Z2M and ZHA, as in all models. But then with this, we've got the IR Learn and Replay. Now, what this will do is, once you point, for example, your TV remote control at the Ultima box, it should then interpret the commands and give you an output, which you can then program into Home Assistant, for example, so that you can use the Ultima 3 to send signals from Home Assistant to your TV, for example, to change channels and so on. Now, this is still in development, so I'm sure there's going to be a lot of updates for this. So then moving down, we've got the buzzer, so you can make the device give you warning tones, for example, when there's a fault, so you can program it for that. Then we've got the Ambilight. So if you see on screen at the moment, I've got some screenshots of the Ambilight being changed to different colours. So what you would do is you can change the effects from, say, solid, blur, or rainbow, which they call it. So there's different lighting effects. You can also click here, change the customized colour to whichever colour you want. And you can also set the brightness and the effect speed as well. So for example, you've got the rainbow effect where it will change different colours, go through the rainbow. You can change the speed of that as well. So that's obviously just for aesthetic purposes. If you like lights and your devices in your network rack have all got lights, for example, LEDs and so on in there, this might be a good addition to having the Ambilight on in the Ultima 3 as well in your network rack. So then moving down, we've got security, which you have in all the SLZB devices. We've got VPN, DDNS, USB, as with all the devices, scripts and automations, and then settings and tools. So if you're familiar with the SLZB devices, then you'll know what these menu options are and how it's all laid out. So you can see they've standardized the menu options, which is good to see. So it's all standard across all devices, which makes it, of course, easier to navigate. So then with the LED settings here, what you can do is disable LEDs. However, I've noticed if you still disable LEDs, you still get the little blue LED light in the Ultima box for the Z-Wave. So that stays on all the time. Now, this might be a bug, or it might be set to do that on purpose. I'm not sure, but I suspect it's probably a bug. And when they do an update, they'll probably make it so that it disables all of the LEDs. So then we go down to time settings and then log and debug. So all these options here are very familiar to you if you're familiar with SLZB devices from SMLight. So my thoughts on this. Well, I think at the moment there's so many different models which basically all do the same thing. So they're all ZigBee or Matter over Thread coordinators. And I think it's becoming a bit confusing which model is which. So I think probably SMLight ought to just back down a little bit on their models and just focus on a few popular ones. And then with the not so popular ones, just probably do away with those so that it makes it easier for people to choose which models and versions they want. For example, if you want a ZigBee coordinator, then you just have one of those. And if you want a Matter over Thread, then one of those, or one that does both or three things. But at the moment, there's so many different model versions. So another thing, with the IR Learn and Replay option, you will need to have your Ultima 3 facing and close to the device in infrared range to be able to control it via Home Assistant. So for example, you would need to have the Ultima 3 next to your television in line of sight for the infrared receiver to be able to receive the commands via Home Assistant and then via the Ultima 3. So that could be a bit of a downside option to people that have, say, a network rack which is not close to the television or in a different room. Then you're not going to be able to control those devices with infrared signals. So that's a downside that I've noticed. Now, another thing, the Ultima 3 is still in development, so they're still developing it and expanding it, and I'm sure they'll probably have maybe some external plugins where you can have an external infrared receiver and transmitter so that you can place the Ultima 3 in a different location and still have the infrared transmitter and receiver capabilities to be able to control, say, a television or a satellite TV box. So hopefully they'll bring out some accessories for that. So just be aware that it's still being developed. So if you're one of those people that likes tinkering with things and testing things out, then this might be the box for you. But otherwise, if you just want a basic ZigBee controller or Matter over Thread, then I would choose something like the MR3 model, for example. Or if you just want ZigBee, then go for the 06P7. But if you want one that does everything, so Matter over Thread, ZigBee and Z-Wave, then the Ultima 3 is certainly one of the boxes you could buy for a complete all-in-one solution. Now at the moment, Z-Wave is about, and there are devices for that, but in my opinion, it doesn't seem to have taken off as much as, say, ZigBee devices or Matter over Thread is becoming now. So whether it's worth investing in this box that does Z-Wave or the Z-Wave add-on, for example, then I'm not quite sure, but it's up to you. If you have plenty of Z-Wave devices, then yes, you could purchase this with the Z-Wave add-on. Now, the good point is that the web interface is all standard across all devices, which is good to see. So it's easy to navigate, and once you get used to the interface, it's easy to find things and set up the device as well. So that's my opinion on things, and everything what I've said is my own opinion, and please do let me know your thoughts and comments in the video description. Are you going to be buying one, or are you going to just stick with your existing controllers, say for ZigBee and Matter over Thread, or are you going to be purchasing this one which has everything all in one, and of course the Ambilight? So thanks for watching this video, and I'll be back again soon with more videos. Take care, bye for now.